everyone! Awkward ka ba? Have you ever felt like you walk into the room and wala kang kakilala at nararamdaman mo yung kaba sa puso mo? Ako, guilty ako dyan, especially in my teens and 20s. Nagtatago ako hanggat wala akong kakilala sa kwarto. And I would always look at professional hosts and think, how do they do that? No? Kahit saang sitwasyon, they have this ease about them, they have this confidence, and I always wished I could be like that too. So, in today's episode of 5 Minutes Lang, we're joined by one of the best hosts in the Philippines, the host also of the fun and empowering podcast, Paano Ba To? And she's also a UN Women Champion. So, kasama natin, hi Bianca!
Hi, Siege.
Hey!
I love your intro situationer kasi I am honestly until now exactly like that.
What? Really?
Yeah, as in if there's an invite for example, an intimate dinner or an event, I try to check who is there that I will know kasi I am a super introvert.
That's amazing. Because, ako, I think the thing that built my confidence, ironically, was I started doing work in hosting when I became a TV reporter. And then I realized, oh, wow, I'm able to put forward this very confident face on cam, but it doesn't actually change how I feel inside. Like, I still have that nervousness. And
Yeah.
so, ironically, like the nervousness isn't a barrier. It's just something that you have to, listen to and then work past. Pero, how did you get into this line of work? Were you always, a public speaker despite being an introvert, or natulak ka lang ba din dito?
Gosh, I am the farthest of from someone who would become a host, honestly. Like feeling ko those people who knew me from grade school or high school were honestly shocked that I ended up here. Kasi ako, looking back, I'm still honestly shocked that I am in this kind of work. To backtrack a bit, I remember that I was no public speaker at all in school. I remember when I was grade 2 or 3, pinasali ako ng teachers sa isang like a balagtasan type contest, and I was maybe 2/3 through my piece. I saw my mom in the audience. She took a picture, nag-flash yung camera, tapos nakalimutan ko lahat ng lines ko, and I was just standing there. So not a good public speaker at all. In every school project, I was behind the scenes, writer. I would direct the plays or the videos. Yun yung gusto ko talaga. Until college, I was given the opportunity to model, which was also parang not in my dreams or cards at all. But when I did shoot that first commercial, I remember feeling, yeah, I'm super, super, super shy, but I kind of like enjoyed it. And so after more modeling gigs, I got the chance to host like small events in orgs, mga ganyan in school. Still shy until I got to do the chance to do it professionally. I started as a pinch hitter for Pia Guanyo in a show called Review Night many 2 decades ago. It was a Pia Guanyo Ryan Agoncillo show, and at the time, Pia had moved to GMA7, and they were looking for someone to pair with Ryan. And they said, "How about this fresh grad or parang fourth year college pa lang yata ako noon. Let's try her." And magically, Ryan and I really hit it off, and that was the start of something I had no idea would be my actual career for this year, 20 years.
Oh, happy 20
Grabe.
years. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
It's crazy thinking about it. Grabe.
Oh, and it must have been so, daunting, that very first gig, because at that point, Ryan was already a very
That was Ryan
experienced.
Agoncillo
Oh,
already. Yes.
yeah, it's like Ryan Agoncillo, capital R, right? Um, do you remember any advice or something that he shared with you that helped you ease into that first job?
Right. So right after the review night kasi was just like, it was two stools in a studio, konti lang crew, and we would just talk about movies. But I feel like that spark of kaya ko palang magsalita sa harap ng tao really started with a show I did called Why Speak. So this is a youth-oriented debate show.
I
Um,
remember that.
oh, I love
Yeah,
it. I don't
because
know how old
I
you
was
were then.
I was ano, I'm a high school debater, so
There? Oh my
everyone wanted to do I Speak.
I love that. So yeah, we were geared towards more high school, college, maybe first jobbers. Now the goal of the show was basically to make the youth care about social issues. And in that show, because I hit it off with Ryan, the show was pegged for Karen Davila, who was already then Karen Davila, and Ryan, and they were looking for like a young girl to balance the trio and to be like the audience girl. So because I had that show with Ryan, they were like, oh, let's try her. And it wasn't specific advice that Karen and Ryan gave me, but I specifically remember that in Why Speak, the format is after the debate, technically nobody wins on the show because there are always two sides to every issue. But at the end of the show, they would ask the hosts to wrap up and give their takeaway. And this was me, fourth year college, wala pang alam sa mundo, super idealist, hindi pa grounded sa reality. And I remember that first, it was live taping with an audience. So I had to do it like in front of people. And I remember thinking, who will care what I say? Beside a Ryan Agoncillo and a Karen Davila. Who will care? Parang ganun talaga yung feeling ko. But ever since the start, Karen and Ryan made me feel that my opinion was not any less than theirs. They never cut me. They never made me feel like, oh, ito lang yung short time mo, pero kami, ito. Um, they always made me feel like what I had to say held the same weight as what they did. And I think that did wonders, not just for my confidence, but also for my belief in myself that my opinion matters. So to this day, I credit them a lot for where I am now or how I've evolved since then. Kasi for someone, for people like them that I look up to encourage me in that way, to even engage with me in debate after the show. We'll still talk about it. And they were genuinely interested in what I thought about issues. I was like, wow, ganito pala yung feeling if you speak up. Parang ganyan. So I guess that is when I was encouraged na, hey, whatever stage you're in, you can speak up. You have a voice.
Mm-mm. And you hit upon something that's so universal, diba? That feeling of, oh, but no one's going to care. It's just me. Ako lang naman to, diba? And sometimes we have that, whether it's in a work setting, someone in their early 20s will be like, well, junior stuff lang naman ako dito.
Mm-mm.
Hindi na lang ako magsasalita. Or you show up at an event and, oh, pero sobrang big time naman ng mga tao dito. Dito
Yeah.
na lang ako sa sulok, diba? But what your with your experience, 'di ba, you found that assurance within yourself that your voice matters and what you have to say matters.
I was
What
super
about
lucky. I was super
Oo.
lucky though to get to work in an environment like that. And I know that not everyone has that, especially nung many years ago on TV, there was a tiering, there was a hierarchy. There still is now, but I think much more before. And so I consider myself very lucky na yung una kong sabak was with a group that's supportive. Even behind the scenes, our producers were all so supportive of me kahit baguhan ako.
Yeah. And right now, 'di ba, you can see the trajectory now with your work, you're empowering others, whether it's through your podcast or your work with UN Women. For people who don't necessarily have a Karen Davila and a Ryan Agoncillo in their life, what do you tell them to remind them na, hey, your voice matters, meron kang lugar dito?
Um, I guess now because of social media, it has become easier for people to share what they have to say, and sometimes it's actually abused. You know, that democracy of freedom and freedom to put your opinion out there. When people do ask me, I just say one of two things. One is that because this is something I also didn't practice during my younger years. There were times that I would tweet something out of emotions and then it would blow up and bite me in the ass. Parang ganyan. So I try to remind those who came after us, after those mistakes, that, like, read up muna on an issue. It's not, you can ask so many people about it before you say your piece. And don't tweet something out of like extreme anger or inis. And second is that it touches on a bit of what I said earlier, but yung asking questions, you have to have that natural curiosity because that will lead you to develop that voice even more.
What you said about that natural curiosity, for a lot of people, when they go to new events, new situations, meeting new people, malaki yung worry about how do I present myself? How do I come across? How do I, you know? And sometimes that gets in the way of us actually listening to the situation and to the people that we're with. As a host, how important is, that listening in creating that environment for you to do your work well, for you to connect with people?
Oh, super important. I mean, I know you know this, Siege. There are, and I don't fault anyone, but maybe this because this is training. There are some people who are given a list of 3 questions to ask whoever they're interviewing. This usually happens kapag siguro student interviews or first time on cam. So, syempre, there are jitters. And for example, they ask the first question, and then the guest gives an answer that gives you something more. But then the interviewer goes ahead to ask the second question instead of digging in more to what was said. So I feel like active listening is what will set you apart as a communicator. You don't even have to be a host. You don't even have to be an interviewer. You don't even have to do it professionally. Like, just in general, communicating. Active listening is so key because that's what will make the actual conversation richer and will make you get to know who you're talking to more than just surface level because people give cues, whether it's a pause, whether there was a facial reaction that changed. Because listening is not just listening to the words, right? It's also like feeling the energy, seeing their body language. So when you pick up on things like that, I feel it also makes who you're talking to feel seen. Yung parang, oh, na-notice niya yun about me. And that I have seen time and time again super matters.
And that's not just in front of the cam. That's like
Yeah,
off cam, in
that's in
person,
real life. Yeah.
in real life. Yeah. Like how would you apply that to attending a party and not knowing anyone else who's there?
Not knowing as in at all, like zero.
As in invite ka, tapos pumunta ka doon. It's a work function.
Yeah.
Macy's laughing because we hear this a lot from our younger staffers na, kunwari, okay, meron tayong work event. Tapos ang kakilala lang nila sa work event, kami-kami. And there's this fear of, oh, sino ba yung mga taong to? So if your boss tells you to go to an event, or your org sends you to an inter-school event, wala kang kakilala, anong gagawin mo and how do you apply active listening?
I am so like that. Like I mentioned, I'm an introvert. To this day, I am a massive introvert. And whenever I have to go to events like that, like trade launches or networking events, I consciously have to psych myself na, okay, Bianca, you'll go out of your comfort zone today kasi bakit ka pa pupunta kung hindi ka lang magsasalita? It's really a conscious effort that I do. And so, say for example, someone goes to an event and wala siyang kakilala, I'll go back to what I said about energy. So you feel in the room, even when you don't talk to people, medyo ramdam mo kung sino yung magaan, kung sino yung parang medyo vibe mo. So if you don't know where to start with that. If there's one person standing beside you na sobra kang intimidated, don't naman start there kasi parang you're giving yourself a hard time. But if you see someone sort of fidgeting also on the side like you, a bit shy, baka pwede mo tabihan, and then introduce yourself. The introduce yourself is very, very tough, but I once interviewed Hannah Pangilinan, who gave me excellent advice, who gave those listening to the podcast excellent advice. Sabi niya, sometimes you think in your head, you count yourself down. Kunyari, katabi mo na siya. Katabi mo na yung taong na-eyeball mo na, okay, ito yung unang kakausapin ko because this person does not look intimidating. Mukhang medyo same kami ng background. Tinignan mo yung ID niya, tinignan mo yung company niya. Okay, parang okay to. She said you can count yourself down in your head. Okay, hinga ka na malalim. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Bianca. Parang ganon. It's like you psych yourself. And then when you say hi, just say, I don't know, depends on what the event is, but what you're there for. Are you also here for like that? And what will drive kasi the next question is, yun nga, going back to active listening. Unahin mo, it doesn't even have to be a question about work. You can go ahead and be transparent with your feelings na parang, actually, sobra kong nahihiya. Parang first time ko pumunta ng event na ganito. Ikaw din ba? And then, you know, whether they say, first time ko din, and then, oh my God! Or like, actually parang, medyo ginagawa ko to, pero masasanay ka din. You know, it's gonna naturally flow from there. Yeah.
So, in a way, no, there's this element of vulnerability din na
Yeah,
hindi mo
absolutely.
kailangan magpaka yung walk in the room parang
Yeah.
like you don't have to fake it in the sense na you don't have to pretend to be the most, 'di ba? Yung maangas ka sa kwarto. Like confidence doesn't mean have to mean maangas ka sa kwarto. It can just mean yeah, ako to, introvert ako. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna connect with you as an introvert.
Right. I mean, I think extroverts will not have the same problem in being first timers in events because they're more personable. They get energized by being around people. So this, I guess, the advice doesn't really apply to everyone, but for those who are feeling a bit shy and intimidated, baka it might work. Counting yourself down, allowing yourself to kasi hindi naman weakness if you say, first time ko to. I mean, everyone has had a first time somewhere and has
Yeah.
felt uneasy. So that has worked for me and it might work for other people too.
Yeah. Something then that I loved about what you shared is when you count down in your head and then you go for the high, it's sudden.
Yeah.
So you don't start with a excuse
Yeah.
me, hello. But because you did the countdown in your head already, when you say your first hi, it's hi.
Pero wag mo din
Parang,
gulatin. Wag naman yung out of the blue. Hi, ganyan katabi mo. Baka
hindi naman, hindi naman,
mag-connect
hindi
ka
naman.
doon. Oh. But it's more like,
Grabe
yeah,
naman.
said
Pero
that
may,
helps a lot. Like you sort of be your own hype man in your head, whether it's a countdown or it's a whatever. Pero parang i-cue mo yung sarili mo.
yeah, our chairman, si Robbie Alampay, said this advice in one of our previous episodes of 5 Minutes Lang about public speaking. Sabi niya, hindi ka naman nila i-invite kung hindi mo deserve pumunta doon. Hindi ka i-invite magsalita kung hindi sila naniniwala na mayroon kang sasabihin na mahalaga. So, kung naniniwala sa'yo, bakit ikaw hindi ka naniniwala sa sarili mo?
Yeah,
Ganun
absolutely
ba?
valid. I mean, hard to hear. I mean, hard to swallow. Like, even until now, when I get invites to something with people I look up to, it's like, really? So, I don't think it ever goes away. But siguro nice to look at it as instead of feeling so intimidated, it's more of like, wow, I get the chance to do this. This is so awesome.
Hmm.
That's a reframe that has worked for me also.
Yeah, like you're being present. You're being more present for what's good about this moment rather than what scares me.
And susulitin mo kasi to Robbie's point, not everyone gets chances like this. So you make the most of it. Kasi the worst part is coming home from something like that and like, andun na ako eh, hindi ko pa nilapitan eh. Or andun na ako, hindi ko pa sinabi na ganto ganyan, hindi ko pa tinake yung chance na I want to collaborate or I want to set up a meeting or I want to pitch this. Yeah, that's you don't want that what if. So, igo mo na.
Yeah. Parang if you're weighing the risk assessment in your head, the risk of, ay, baka hindi kami mag-connect immediately or baka may awkward crew, baka hindi niya ako ma-vibe. Like, what's the risk of that versus the risk of, hi, I regret not,
Mm-mm.
di ba?
Yeah,
Parang,
yeah.
it's a
I'm
bigger
not
risk.
I'm not as afraid of dead air as I used to be. When I was starting out as a host, actually until now, dead air is sort of like, oh my gosh, a no-no. Kasi nga, on television, in the realm of television, seconds are expensive, literally. So I used to be so afraid of dead air. But now, I realize that, I mean, there's also something there in the dead air. It's awkward, yes, but parang real life naman to, hindi naman siya televised moment na kailangan every moment something's happening. So in real life, when dead air happens, I'm less scared of it na.
Mm-mm. You mentioned earlier, you try to be, appreciate now, wow, I'm lucky to be here. What's a big event that intimidated you recently, but you are really proud of how you made it through and how you maximized that moment?
Um, It's not so recent, but I remember this is 2019, I believe. I was invited to Singapore to moderate a panel discussion for the UN Women We See Equal Summit or something like that. And I was talking to a PNG CEO and a best-selling author, a best-selling American author, and I was like, "Oh my God, why me?" Tapos fly-in pa. Kung dito kasi naintindihan ko because I'm in the rotation of moderators, parang ganyan, for mga serious events. But to go there and speak to a regional audience, I was like, bakit ako? Parang, wow. But at the same time, it was like, wow, ako. So when I'm intimidated like that, the way I deal with it is I prepare, I research on who I'm talking to, I research about the topic. Because I feel what is scary is the uncertain. And you can't really fully predict what will happen in big events, overwhelming situations. But at least if you know prepared ka as much as you can, then may bala ka. That gives you the confidence to parang, okay, andito ako, naghanda ako. And unexpected things can happen, but at least dun sa kaya mong i-control, you did what you could.
Mm-mm. And then in a normal, like, interpersonal, outside of hosting, gaano ka-useful sa'yo yung concept ng bala? Do you still go into, when you're psyching yourself up for new
Mm.
situations, new people, do you also try to have bala?
You know, I don't. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you why. I feel like I think I used to try to do that, but it didn't feel authentic. In interpersonal, like normal real life relationships, like for example, I'm gonna talk to someone important who I look up to or an important person who I will never have the chance to speak to again. I feel like if I have bala in the sense, bala kasi to me seems like pinaghandaan ko yung punchline ko or yung in that way. And it feels inauthentic in that that person might feel like sinet up ko siya to be able to hear me in that way. I don't know if it makes sense. But to me
Ah,
kasi it has happened na parang, o kaya mo lang ako nilapitan kasi may agenda ka. Parang ganon. Which, in some cases, will work naman. If it's a networking event, if it's really a pitching event. But if it's like a normal, casual thing, I don't want to put the person on the spot na, ito ang bala ko. What I like to frame it as is what Tito Boy Abunda calls an experience bank. So an experience bank is more of everything I've been through in life, personally, professionally, up highs and lows, ups and downs. And when I meet with an important person, it depends kung nasan din siya at this moment. Kung pag-uusapan niya work, edi kuhugot ako from my experience bank ng work. kung biglang ang pag-uusapan niya is something more light, superficial, favorite K-drama, doon ako hugot ng experience bank ko, right? You're present to the moment and you're just ready with your experience bank versus specific bala. Parang ganun.
Mm-mm. And it relates to the active listening because it's
Yes.
still centered on the other person. It's
Yeah.
centered on them rather than eto I need to say this because I need to appear this way. I am afraid I am so parang getting out of yourself and focusing it on what does this person want to talk about? What does how can I relate to them with what's important to them?
Right.
It's like what you said earlier, being genuinely interested.
Kasi, for example, you're talking with the CEO and you're like suddenly preparing yourself to have all these ano. Eh, what if that CEO just wants to relax that day? Ayaw niya pag-usapan yung work, di ba? Ayaw mo naman to be that person to raise. What do you think about the economy right now? Di ba parang, it's not what she wanted to talk about or something. Rather than, after the pleasantries, kind of see kung san sila and then meet them where they are is, I feel, a better strategy. So, ang ihanda mo is that experience ba?
You know, there's it's hard being an introvert.
Super.
So I'm also an introvert. Like all of my hobbies. I have a public facing job, but all of my hobbies are pang solo activities sa bahay. It's embroidery and painting, and now I'm making like beaded jewelry. It's all stuff that I can do by myself. Um, and it's hard because I think our society keeps telling us that extroversion is more important than introversion, and that if you're an extrovert you're better at people, if you're an extrovert you're better at social situations, and there's this steering that puts extroverts up here and introverts down here. How do you feel about that as an introvert too?
I wouldn't say they're better. I think it's just a little easier for them. But in terms of being better at social situations, I think it's a person to person basis.
Mm.
And in the 20-ish years, I've been battling my introvertness because of my job and because of things I have to do related to my job. The one most critical skill talaga that has been useful in bridging that disjoint of introversion, but at the same time having to be at so many social events or engagements is curiosity. Super talaga. As in, I was never really shy to say I didn't know something, but all the more now. Now that I'm even older, I'm even bolder to ask, sorry, ano yun? Ano yung sinabi mo? If they say a term that I'm not familiar with. When I was younger, I wasn't really shy. I was more like, hindi ko na lang tatanungin. But now, I'm more proactive kasi I wanna know. I don't wanna make tango, pero hindi ko pala naintindihan yung sinasabi mo. I'll say, sorry, I don't know, what's that term that you said? I really will ask. Kasi at the end of the day, that will make me learn more. I knew one more thing because I dared to ask what that is.
Yeah, and there are also strengths to introverts, like even though some jobs might be easier for extroverts, even though some situations might be easier, to your point earlier, it's case to case. Like being a good listener, hindi naman yan namimili ng extroversion, introversion. Anyone can do that. Being curious, hindi yan namimili. What are aspects of introversion that you feel are that you like you feel are helpful towards connecting with people?
Um, One is definitely the introverts. What's the word? We like reflecting, if that's the correct word. We replay things in our head, we think about things, and we take time to listen to ourselves also. So after said event that I've been making kwento, just yesterday, I had like 3 interviews, then a dinner. I was like, my introvert self was like screaming. So that meme on the internet na parang pagpasok mo sa kotse, you're like, that was so me last night. And I do that. So I'm that hinhingal after major social events. And then I find myself enjoying the time alone after. Like yung hindi mo pa itutulog kasi gusto mo talaga time alone. And I think a superpower of introverts is yun nga, because we like spending time by ourselves. It's also, we also have more chances to hear what we're thinking. I think that's super underrated now because nga, right now, when you have idle time, 30 seconds pa lang, our hand picks up our phone without our knowing it. Or we turn on something right away to watch, right? So I think in today's world, there are less times for us to be alone to hear ourselves think, which for me is so important for anyone, because we don't want to be people that just mirror everything that we consume, right? We want to know, wait, alin ba dito yung thoughts ko talaga? And only quiet time gives you that. So that's, I think, something that introverts can take full advantage of.
Yeah, and we can reframe introversion. Na introversion is not like, oh, I'm
Takot sa tao.
necessarily, oo, hindi ako takot sa tao, hindi ako you know, hindi ibig sabihin pag introvert ako, wala akong kumpiyansa sa sarili ko. And if we take what you said earlier, the superpower, baka nga sa pagiging introvert mo, dun ka magkaroon ng inner peace. Kasi
Yeah.
naiintindihan mo sarili mo, kaya mong i-reflect sarili mo. At kung komportable ka sa sarili mo, yun din yung daan para maging komportable ka sa ibang tao.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely well said.
Quick question, what are your introvert hobbies?
All my workouts are alone workouts. I run, I do Pilates. Pilates na one-on-one, so may isang tao lang. But
Mm-mm.
I, I find the hobby question so difficult ever since I became a mom. People ask me, what are your hobbies? Parang, may time pa ba ako para sa hobbies? So, yeah, my workout time is my alone time. Um, I like doing things alone in general. Grocery alone. Before this time, I loved movies alone. Sorry, before the pandemic, I loved watching movies alone. Till now, I go to cafes alone to eat by myself.
Yeah.
Things like that. I love traveling alone, but I don't get to do that as much, of course. Yeah, I love alone time. Oh my god.
I I love taking classes alone.
Yeah.
So signing up for ceramics classes or stuff like that. And then hindi din naman yun yung area of hobbies ng asawa ko. So I'm like, bala ka dyan mag-golf. Mag-aano ka dito. Gagawa ako ng plato. Diba?
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy. And I think I went through this really long period kasi as a teenager of resenting my introversion. Na parang, why
Really?
can't, yeah, na parang feeling ko, why can't I be like the cool popular girls na parang pwedeng makipag-friend sa kahit kanino. So, again, di ba, debate nerd ako. So, ang feeling ko, bakit hirap ako sa social situations? Bakit sila parang ang ingay lang palagi? And why can't I be like that? And why can't I get out of my shell? Why am I so scared? And I think nung why can't I be like everyone else? Nung na-start kong intindihin na actually you shouldn't try to be like everyone else. You just be yourself. And then saka ko lang nahanap yung confidence na kaya kong makipag-usap sa mga tao. Kasi hindi ko na pressure yung sarili ko na I need to relate to people that way. I
Yeah.
only need to relate to people my way.
Absolutely. And I was curious nga when this became the topic for me because I guess nga the public persona is so different from my who I am as a person. Like in big barkada dinners, in big family reunions, super hindi ako nagsasalita. I'm an observer. I just watch people. Ako yung tipong, as a person like I'm not in work mode. Kung hindi mo ako kausapin, nandun lang ako. Wala akong kakausapin talaga. And it's of course sometimes misinterpreted as suplada, masungit. But I've become comfortable with that kasi alam ko hindi naman ako suplada at masungit. Talagang hindi lang ako palatao. Hindi lang ako mahilig makipagchikahan if I don't really have to. And I enjoy observing people and people watching. So I think if you're an introvert like us and you also like doing that, be comfortable in that and don't feel like you have to be the, kumbaga, the bangko sa usapan. Ako yung sa barkada na tumatawa lang. Sila yung nagkukwentuhan, ako yung tumatawa lang. So my public job is so different from who I am as a person. And I don't think I'm living a dual life. I just feel like, siguro, likened to acting. I don't act at all, have never acted. But you know how actors turn on their character. It's like that. It's not that it's
Yes.
not them. It's just that that's what is needed for the moment. And in my case, it's my job. So for anyone who has to be in a situation that they have to socialize that they're not in, don't feel like you're also not being yourself when you turn it on. Just think of it as something you're just making the most out of the moment, and this is what I have to do now. But after this, I will go back to my shell, my cocoon, and that's fine too.
And it's empowering to be the one in control of flipping the switch. So parang the goal is not to totally shift who you are, pero to equip yourself para ikaw yung nagko-control ng switch. Na,
Yeah.
ito yung kailangan sa akin, ng situation, switch.
Yeah.
Hindi na
Siguro,
kailangan, switch. Ako,
exactly.
like, you're the one in control.
I like that visual for it. And siguro what might help people also is you don't have to be kasi another person if you suddenly have to face people. I think lang what you can do, it's an exaggerated version of yourself. And siguro natutunan ko to because nga on TV, medyo mas kailangan animated. As a person, di naman ako animated, di nga ako nagsasalita. So, just try to channel who you are pa rin, pero make it bigger when you need to. And then when you don't have to, then you dial it down to your normal level again. And then when you need to, i-volume 10 mo, and then lalaki na naman yung mga reactions mo and your energy level, kumbaga. But yeah, you can think of
Yeah.
it as a volume knob, maybe.
Yeah. I also like to think of it in terms of a jewel. You know how jewels have different facets and they're all part of the same jewel.
Mm.
Pero depende sa kung ano yung ihaharap mo. Iba yung reflection na makikita mo, iba yung shape na makikita mo. Parang ganun lang din. Like it's still part of you. That's the part of you that is outgoing. There's a part of you that wants to be alone. There's a part of you that you bring to work and the part of you you keep at home. A part of you for your family, a part of you for your kids, a part of you for yourself.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. This is super
Introverts
reflect.
lie. I think people think there are less introverts than there actually are. Baka yun yung kasi social media gives that impression, di ba, that everyone's out there. But if you're a shy, introverted, likes to keep alone person, madami tayo, guys. Hindi lang tayo nagsasalita kaya we don't know that we're out there. Pero madami tayo.
Tsaka ano, the people that we see, that we consume, 'di ba? TV, 'di ba? Marami din siguro diyang introverts.
Eh,
Pero the job just demands a different side.
dami. And if kaya
Mm-mm.
namin to turn it on, kaya nyo din.
What's your message to a baby introvert? A baby introvert who is only starting to accept their introversion.
Um, Maybe that one na madami tayo. I think our introversion gets more exaggerated when we feel like tayo lang yung ganon. But when we know that we're a lot, and we're a lot, we really are, it makes you feel a little less alone. And second is, I guess, in terms of tying being an introvert but finding your voice or being more confident together, it takes time talaga. It takes many years. I'm able to speak like this now because I'm 41, been working for 20 years. Actually, if I count modeling, 24 years. So this is words of an introvert from working more than half my life. Na kaya ko to nasasabi ngayon. But if you ask 17-year-old me, gosh, I would have probably nothing to say. So it does take time. So take your time. But at the same time, daming time, ano ba yan? Um, you have to also put yourself in situations where you will grow. Kasi if you keep just to yourself, talagang there's no space for you to discover na kaya mo pala. So it will be uncomfortable sometimes when you step out of your comfort zone, pero you have to like keep pushing the needle. Push mo lang, onti-onti, at your pace na kaya mo. And eventually, you'll find that confidence and that voice from within because that will only come the more you do it and the more experience you have.
I love how you put that. You can be yourself, give yourself permission to be yourself, but at the same time, put yourself in situations where you can grow. So it's holding space for the you of the present while also being there for the you of the future because you can get there as an introvert and you can still be you while you do it. Thank you so much, Bianca, for this wonderful conversation. Introvert to introvert. I really appreciated this, and I'm sure our listeners are gonna get out there and have this in their minds too for their next social interaction, thing at work, diba? If Bianca
Oh,
can do it, you can do it too.
sana. Thank you, Siege. Thank you so, so much. And yes, I love this topic. And this is a topic na I wish I had listened to um, many, many years ago. Pero happy that we get to share this now.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
also.